Good morning, everybody. Today I am going to start with the chapter The Portrait of a Lady, which is the first chapter of Hornbill. Hornbill is the book which is of class 11 in an English code, and we have the first chapter which is known as The Portrait of a Lady, written by the great novelist and journalist of his time, Mr. Khushwant Singh. The Portrait of a Lady. Khushwant Singh, he was a great journalist, writer, politician, novelist. He also wrote a book, The Train to Pakistan. It was written in 1953. He had shifted from Pakistan to India. Okay, now we'll start with the chapter. Children, I think all of you must have seen your grandparents. You must be living with your grandparents. Or perhaps your grandparents are living in a native village and you keep going to them, meeting them. So, you see your grandparents, though today's grandparents are different than what we used to have 10, 20 or 30 years back. So, Khushwant Singh's grandmother was Lakshmi Bai. According to him, when he saw her, she was an old lady and she could not imagine that she could ever be young. Now, he said, my grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for 20 years that I had known her. Now, your grandmother, maybe they're young because today things are different. Today we have beauty parlors, we have salons where the people can go and color, dye their hair. At that time, it was a natural aging and she aged naturally and she looked old. People said that she had once been young and pretty and even had a husband. But that was hard to believe because according to Khushwant Singh, she was always old and as a child he had seen her like that. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room and he wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest. And he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look like a person who even had a wife or children. He looked as if he had lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. So he could not even think because according to him, she was an old lady and she was old from the very beginning. She often told us of a game she used to play as a child. Obviously, when you talk to your grandparents, they discuss about their time when they used to play marble or they used to hopscotch and many other games, skipping, they used to do with their friends because there were more outdoor activities and there were less television, which is now, today we have gadgets like phone and we are always occupied in the video games, which the people otherwise did not have in that time. That seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part and we treated like fables of the prophet he used to tell us. What's the meaning of a fable? What do you mean by fables? Please find out the meaning of fable. Fables. Find out the meaning of fable. Tale means tales. Fables. Please jot down all of you. Now, she had always been short. So Lakshmi Bai was short, fat, slightly bent like this. Her face was crisscross of wrinkles. I'll try and draw the image, the picture of the grandmother of Khushwant Singh. I will try and do that. Let me see if I can. According to him, she was like this. Her face had wrinkles and she used to bend a little. I'm sorry, I'll have to draw again. Let me draw only the face part. Only the face. Okay? So crisscross face was, and she used to cover her head all the time. And in her hand, she had the rosary, and she used to keep on counting. She used to take the name of God over time. No, we were certain she had always been what she had. Known her old, so terribly old that we could not even grow older, and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She could never have ever been pretty according to him, but she was always beautiful. So look at what does he mean to say by she was beautiful but not pretty according to him. Beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white with one hand resting on the waist to balance her stoop and the other hand the busy beads of her rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. She used to keep on praying, Vaheguru, 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 or whatever. Yes, she was beautiful. Beautiful because she was like a pious lady. She was like the winter landscape in mountain. What type of the landscape do you mean? Winter. In winter, we have snow-capped mountains, the hills. So it was like winter-capped mountains. And with the expanse of pure white serenity, everywhere white, beauty, very nice, peace, contentment. She was not a disgruntled lady. She was not the one who used to keep on gripping and grumbling all the time, criticizing here and there, gossiping. No, she was busy with her beads and taking the name of God all the time. My grandmother and I were good friends. Now we start with the bond of the grandmother and the writer, that is Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh was called Khushal by her grandmother. He was actually Khushal, but he took up Khushwant Singh, Khushwant as a name because his elder brother was Bhagwant and he wanted to be Khushwant and Bhagwant like that. Otherwise he was Khushal. And she said, my grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city. Actually, when the partition started, way back, when it all started, they decided, and it was much before partition, they decided to shift to Delhi. And when they shifted, they decided to go and stay, set up the business. They were living in Pakistan. So he was left with the grandmother in Pakistan in the village. She used to wake him up in the morning and get ready for school. She said her morning prayers in the monotonous sing-song way, and she bathed and dressed him and hoped that he would listen to it. She used to keep on praying all the time so that Khushwant Singh also could listen to the song, the prayers, the hymns, and at least learn some. So this was a nice way of her teaching all the good things. But I listened because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. He said, I listened to it, but I never bothered to learn what she wanted to teach me. Then she would fetch my wooden slate. You know, earlier there used to be, children used to write on a wooden slate. Today you have pen, paper, you have tablets, you have iPad, you have different modes of writing, modes and where you can write. But earlier there used to be slate, one slate, it used to be a wooden slate, and it used to be plastered every day after it is being used, and an ink pot and a pen used to be used for writing. So this used to be, in Punjabi I think that people used to call it fatti. Fatti means a plank, a wooden plank which was used, and it was washed every day, dried up, which he would wash and plaster with yellow chalk, and a tiny earthen ink pot and a red pen, and a pen, tied them all in a bundle and handed over to me. After a breakfast of now, today you have the option of eating oats, cornflakes, bread, butter, omelette, you have parathas, what not. But at the time, he used to eat stale chapatis, with butter and sugar spread over it. And there was no cribbing. And then they used to go together to school. She used to carry chapatis along with her for the village dogs. This showed that she was fond of dogs, animals. She used to take care. She was such a nice person that apart from human beings, she took care of the animals also. Now the grandmother used to accompany Khushwant Singh to school. He used to sit in the school which was adjoining the temple, where she used to read scriptures, and he used to recite, he used to read and drill, continuous drill, where the children used to read out, sing the alphabets of praise in chorus, and the grandmother used to read scriptures. When they both finished, then they used to come back. On the way back, the dogs used to follow because the dogs knew that she was carrying chapatis for them. When my parents were comfortably settled, now Khushwant Singh, there was a turning point in their life now. This was the village life, where she used to get up, bathe him. She used to do all the chores of the child. Wake him up, dress him up, give him breakfast, accompany him, sing song, get him ready, everything. Taking care of his slate, pen, pencil, not pencil, sorry, ink and everything. And going and coming back. And then, now, because the parents had settled in the city, they were about to change and come to the city. Now when they came to city, things were different. There was a turning point in their life. Although school, he was sent to an English medium school. He was great, he had very good vocabulary, he was a great writer. He had studied in St. Stephen's College, and then he had also studied in London. He said he used to go to English medium school in a motor bus. Now, grandmother's company to the school. Now it's all over. We used to go in the motor bus to school. So there were no dogs in the street. So what she did, she used to start feeding sparrows, birds in the courtyards. As the year rolled by, we saw less of each other now. Because the child was growing, earlier he was small, he used to share the same bedroom. Now he had grown up. He also needed his space to study, he needed peace, so he was given another room. Now the subject thoughts were also different. It was not only superstitious, it was not only religious books what he used to study. Now the books were science, maths, and there were different laws. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. I would tell her English and little things of Western sciences and learning. The law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round. I used to tell her that according to science, the world is round and we are moving around the earth, which was difficult for her to digest. This made her unhappy. She could not help me with my lessons, she could not teach me, because these were something which she had not learned. She did not believe that there was no teaching of God and scriptures. She was under distress. One day she said, Khushwant Singh said, I announced that I have been given music lesson. So it was so difficult for her to digest that. She said, no, what is this? To her, music was something very, very low, lute. So underline the word lute. It was a monopoly of house, beggars, and not meant for gentlefolk. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. She was quiet. She was not the type of lady who would say, no, it will not be taught, nothing. She really talked to me after that. It was quiet. Now, Khushwant Singh grew. He became a young man. He had to go to the university. I was given a room of my own. The common link of friendship was snapped. He went to St. Stephen's College. And my grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. She silently she didn't utter anything. She did not put her foot down. She didn't say anything. She accepted. She was a very contented lady. A lady who did not have, you can say, much expectations from anybody. She really left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone. She had a spinning wheel. Sorry. So she used to be busy with the spinning wheel. You must have seen the spinning wheel somewhere, because this is a significance of Mahatma Gandhi also. Mahatma Gandhi and his spinning wheel is the first cottage industry which started by Mahatma Gandhi in the spinning wheel, which can weave the thread, make the thread out of cotton, and then weaving is done after that. So she was always busy over there, and she really left the spinning wheel to talk to anyone. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel spinning and reciting prayers. Only in the afternoon she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. While she sat in the veranda, breaking the bread into little bits, hundreds of birds would come and sit on her shoulder and chirping, and they used to create noise. She used to like that. Some came and perched on her leg, others on the shoulder, some sat on her head. She smiled, but never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest half an hour of the day for her. She used to enjoy the company of the sparrows. So, after Khushwant Singh's college, St. Stephen's College, after his graduate, he had to go for his further studies. I was sure my grandmother would be upset, because when somebody plans to go abroad, obviously, in good old days, people, only really a few people used to go. He thought that she would be absent. He would be away for 5 years, and at that age, when she was very old, you never know. You never know whether she would be alive when he comes back or not. She came to leave me at the railway station, but did not talk or show any emotion. Her lips moved in prayers, her mind was lost in prayers, her fingers were busy telling the beads of rosary. She was carrying the rosary beads over there also, at the railway station. Silently she kissed my forehead, and when I left, I cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact with us. When she kissed on my forehead, I felt maybe that moisture, maybe this is the last time I'm going to meet her. After that, maybe I won't meet her again, because I am going out for 5 long years. Maybe I won't come back. When? Till she is alive. So, but that was not so. After 5 years, I came back home and was met by her at the conservatory. So she had a strong willpower. She did not look a day older. She still had no time for words, and when she clasped me in her arms, I could hear her reciting her prayers. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, whom she fed longer with her frivolous rebukes. Hey, come on, what are you doing? There's that. In Punjabi, maybe she was speaking to them. Who's there? What was it? Disturbance. Now, what happened then? In the evening, for the last so many years, she had been praying. Morning till evening, she used to keep on praying. But then one evening, what happened in the evening? A change came over to her. She did not pray. She collected the women of the neighborhood and got an old drum and started to sing. She started singing. She sang songs of the homecoming of a warrior. And that skin of the dilapidated drum, the song of the homecoming of a warrior, she had to persuade her to speak. All went, Dadi, please stop. Grandma, please stop. Barima, please stop. That was the first time since I had known her that she did not pray. That was the first time, that evening. Now, she was so exhausted, so tired, she sang to her fullest, and we kept on saying, please stop. She didn't stop. The next morning, she fell ill. It was mild fever, But the doctors told us that it would go, but my grandmother thought differently. She told us that her end was near. She knew that she was going to die. But she was not the type who wept or said that hospitalize me, take me there, I want oxygen, nothing. She was quiet. Mild fever, and according to doctors, the fever would go, but no, it didn't go. She said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. She said, please don't disturb me. I want to pray. Please, now do not keep coming to me and disturbing me. She was not going to waste any more time talking to us. We protested. I said, but she ignored our protest. She lay peacefully in bed praying and telling her dreams. Even before we could suspect her lips stopped, and she was praying, we didn't even come to know that she died. She died, and her rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. A peaceful pallor spread over her face, and we know she was dead. We lifted her off the bed and, as is customary, laid her on the ground and covered her with a red shroud. After a few hours of mourning, we left her alone to make the arrangement for funeral. You know that all the arrangements have to be done, and take her to be cremated. The sun was setting and had lit the room, the veranda, with a blaze of golden light. We stopped halfway in the courtyard, all over the veranda, all over, in her room, right up where she lay, and stiff wrapped in red shroud. Thousands of sparrows were sitting scattered on the floor. There was no cherubim. They were not chirping. They were quiet. We felt sorry for the birds, and my mother said, okay, go and get some bread, because today, some crumbs of bread, so that we can give to the birds today. Grandmother is no more to give. She got and she did give it to the birds. The sparrows didn't have. They didn't take. She broke into little crumbs, and the way my grandmother used to do, and threw it to them. The sparrow didn't take any notice. They didn't bother, and threw it away. And when we carried my grandmother's corpse off, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweepers swept the breadcrumbs into the dustbin. So the sparrows mourned the death of the grandmother. She was such a pious soul that not only human being, but sparrows also upset, sad. They didn't have anything. They also came to know that the grandmother was dead. So the nice pen portrait of grandmother by Khushwant Singh. It's really nice to see, to read that how well the writer has depicted and has given the entire picture of his grandmother, the way she used to conduct, the way she had love for animals and sparrows. So now too, our chapter is over. Just go through the chapter silently, and I will put some questions on you.